Hey guys, how you doing? Gonna read through this full article here. It's from yesterday, so you might consider this one old news already. Maybe you've not really looked into it yet. Take-Two Interactive and Netflix are partnering on a Bioshock movie. So you know the game Bioshock. So do I. I didn't get very fast in the first one. I found it a little bit too difficult back then. Finished the second one. I think it was a bit of a struggle. Like the third one, Infinite, that was very nice. Graphically, I liked that, the graphic style. Um, Not that interested in the franchise, to be honest. Can't really be bothered to play them for a second time. Not really interested in the remastered versions, but maybe you are. On February the 15th, 2022, Netflix and Take-Two Interactive announced a partnership to develop a Bioshock movie. Currently, there are no filmmakers attached to the project, though Take-Two and Vertigo Entertainment are attached as producers. This isn't the first time a Bioshock film has been attempted. Back in the late 2000s, a film was announced to be in production by Pirates of the Caribbean director Gore Verbinski. It's fairly well documented online that there were budgetary strains and creative differences between the filmmakers and the studio in regards to the rating for the film that ultimately caused production to cease. That seems like a bit of a shitty reason to cancel the movie, just because you can't figure out what rating to put on it. I mean, why don't you just let the ratings board decide? Just make a fucking movie. Jesus, why is it so difficult? Bioshock's director, Ken Levine, has commented on the struggles of getting the original film production off the ground, ultimately playing a role in pulling the plug on the production when things weren't working out. As of writing, Levine has not commented on whether or not he will be attracted to this new project. Well, I'll tell you now, my opinion, you won't be, Ken, because you fucking scuppered it the first time round. Who wants you on board? It's not really a current franchise, is it? Sure, I mean, it's a very well-known franchise. It's a very, very well-loved franchise. But it was released in the days of the Xbox 360 and the PS3. That was quite some time ago. And sure, you've done your remastered versions, I think. There is that collection. But, I mean, these are old games. It's not a current franchise. Ken, you don't really have too much to do with it at this point. So I don't really think that any production company is going to feel the need to get you involved. Frankly, Ken, you had your opportunity and you fucked it up. Back to the article. Coinciding with the news of the film production, 2K reminded everyone that the newly created studio Cloud Chamber is in production on the next Bioshock video game, and included a link for open positions at the company. Positions include character and environment artists, system programmers, and producers. Well, I guess that paragraph really screws up the last thing that I said. Perhaps Bioshock is to be considered a current franchise. Well, I mean, it's not quite, is it? I mean, it's all going on in the background, and we do know that projects get scuppered, get cancelled. We know this. Star Wars 1313. All kinds of games get cancelled, and even when they're released, a lot of them fall flat on their arse. Cyberpunk springs to mind. So I'm going to stick with what I said. It's not a current franchise. It's a previous franchise. It's in the midst of being resurrected. But at this point in time, it hasn't yet been resurrected. Back to the article. Time for the internet's favourite hobby, speculation. Netflix has found success with their video game adaptations, most notably the animated Castlevania series, the live-action series based on The Witcher, and the animated Cuphead show, which releases later this month and looks to be promising. The film, as well as the game, could go anywhere. Bioshock has toyed with placing its themes in different environments and different time periods, like in 2013's Bioshock Infinite, which took place in the floating city of Columbia in 1912. If Cloud Chamber, the developers, is taking on the responsibility of breaking new ground with the Bioshock franchise and placing the game in a new location or a new time period, then it may make commercial sense to place the film in the familiar and set it within the dark underwater dystopia of Rapture. I'll just interject then. Look, if I was making the film Bioshock, right, if I had approximately $250 million to throw at such a film, yes, I would set it in the dark underwater dystopia of Rapture. That's what Bioshock is known for. It's known for this image with, what is it? Is it Big Daddy? Is that what it's called? I can't remember now. So, I like games, I play games, but I forget a lot of the details. It's not me to pretend that I know every last detail about every last game. I don't. I've just got a rough idea. But isn't it Big Daddy? And then you've got the little girl. That was the main core of Bioshock and this setting of Rapture. I did play all three. I finished 2 and Infinite. And Infinite was probably my favorite. But in terms of what is quintessentially a Bioshock game, I would look towards this, underwater dystopia. And at the time when it was released, I'm going to say this, and this may be completely wrong. At the time when it was released, this graphic style and the graphic effects being underwater, that was new. There weren't too many games that did that had a similar underwater environment. I would think, and I could be wrong, but I would think that would be due to hardware limitations. The hardware prior to the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, that generation, the hardware wouldn't have been strong enough to have an environment which is so rich and had the water effects. So I think this game could have only come when it did. It couldn't have come any sooner. What's my point there? I don't really know what my point is, to be honest. But anyway, I just think that the Bioshock dark underwater dystopia is the right feel for any film, would be my take on it. That's where I would put my $250 million. So this article finishes off by asking the audience, are you excited about another attempt at a Bioshock movie? Well, my answer to that is I'm not really excited by movies anymore, to be honest. So I'm not the best person to ask. But yeah, kind of. I would be interested in that. I don't know how they would do it. I would imagine it would have to be very heavily CGI based. I'm not a huge fan of heavily CGI based movies. But I guess that's what they would have to do to recreate Big Daddy here. As well as the environment, of course. I can imagine it being pretty good. I mean, it's a great environment. You've got the opportunity to build a so-called universe. So I would think it's a good setting. The Bioshock Infinite, from what I recall, I played it upon release. That was an altogether different type of game in a way, in a lot of ways. The setting obviously was completely different. Should the Bioshock series move from different time periods to different locations? Honestly, I would think no. I mean, look, you don't no individual game has to be the best game in the world ever. They don't have to be all things to all people at all times. They don't have to be the most popular, the most broad game possible. Why can't it just develop the individual landscape and environment and universe that it has? Just develop on that. Just build that. Much like Resident Evil does. I think that's fair to say. Maybe it's not. But yeah, I just look. Bioshock, this first one, and this image is just such a great, so representative of Bioshock in my opinion. Look, that is its own unique world. You guys were the first to create such a world. Keep it, capitalize on that. That's amazing. That's why people love Bioshock. Sure, a lot of people do love Bioshock Infinite, and perhaps that's the most preferred. But I don't know. To me, if you think of Bioshock, you're thinking of this image here. and the environment that we know came with the original game. And the sequel, Bioshock 2, pretty much the same, just a few extra levels, pretty much, as far as I understand. Anyhow, there's my nonsense ramble. Maybe it's been of interest to at least one of you. If it has, please do like, comment, subscribe.